Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu salam, rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to welcome to our program here at Sharjah Media Corporation. Doing good, and we hope by Allah's mercy and grace that the believers at this particular time are receiving all the bounties and blessings from Allah and pursuing those vigorously. And those people who are still in disbelief, that Allah will enlighten their hearts to the truth. Today we want to talk a little bit about the things which we do which have an impact on us. And of course, the impact can be negative and it can be positive, but I think oftentimes we don't hear people talk about these things. As a result, some people may be in confusion about them. And at some time, many of us, we heard these things from our parents, but we didn't pay attention to it. And these three things, very simple things, have a great influence on our lives. And that's everybody. People. The first thing is people. The people who we associate with on a regular basis. I'm sure most of you, at one time or another, your mom or your dad told you, listen, I don't want you to be with that young man or that young lady. I don't particularly care for him. He doesn't have good manners, or he's doing some things which I don't like, and I don't want him to be a negative or bad influence over you. But, we say that, but Dad, that guy, he's cool. And, in school, he's popular and everybody likes him. And so, when I'm with him, everybody likes me too. And I'm in a circle of guys that, everybody kind of looks up to. In the workplace, for example, now this continuation of that happens with us in many instances in the workplace. When we mature and we go out to pursue our profession, similarly, we will be with a crowd of people who may be considered to be successful. They can be the leaders in, for example, the leaders in whatever profession or whatever career path that you're taking. But at the same time, it doesn't make them good people, because they're successful in their particular career path doesn't make them good people. And all of us have known people who, due to these relationships, for example, have run aground by drugs and alcohol. This to make two simple, common ingredients that have destroyed millions of people's lives globally. And of course, generally speaking, in most societies, people say, well, there's nothing wrong with having a drink, or it's nothing wrong with smoking some marijuana or whatever every once in a while. That doesn't mean that you're addicted. It doesn't mean that you're a drug addict or that you're an alcoholic or that you will become one. But what we look at is this environment, which is the next thing, the places, the people who we associate with. In many instances, those people become an invitation to Satan. Yes, they invite us to an environment, which is the next point, people, places. They invite us to a place where we frequent, where we do these deeds. And in many instances, again, people say, well, there's nothing wrong with going to a bar with the guys or to a pub after work every now and then, or just on the weekend, just relaxing and hanging out with the guys or with the girls and just having some fun. You've been working all week. Or same thing, a student says, well, I've been really cramming for exams, and I finished my exams and I did well. So me and some of the guys, we decided that we're going to the pub this weekend and just kind of loosen it up. So this is an environment that is a negative environment. Major influence from Satan. Secondly, very strong attack on our desires. And even today, where we have many people who don't drink, don't do drugs, who are very strict about their diet, their veggies, as an example, the guy says, listen, I work out, I'm an athlete, I don't mess around, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, an example like this. But we have found that many of those same guys or girls, because of the environment and the pressure that comes on them from their peers, that they become influenced. And once they become influenced, they become part of this crowd. They submit to it because the desires are, we're weak. And the people in this environment have a very strong invitation. And also particularly in a university, or when you get out of university, on your career path, people said, listen, if you want to go places, you have to be with these guys. These are the people of influence. They have invited you to this particular dinner or this particular event. Make sure you show up. If you don't show up, it makes you look bad. And eventually, at some point in time, the particular type of work that we do, you're going to have to entertain guests who come from outside the country, who come from other companies, so forth and so on. And you have to host them in the environment which they are accustomed to. Listen, you don't drink, you don't smoke, whatever it is, okay, that's your personal affair. You don't necessarily have to do that. But these people, they expect this as part of their entertainment package. And you're our guy. You're a fast-track guy. You're the person who has a lot of potential. We have a lot of faith in you. You're really going to be, you know, a super company guy, and you have a bright future ahead of you. I'm just giving you some of the kind of rap. And it's very interesting for me, at my age, to hear young people with the same rap that I know is much older than I am. And of course, I heard this. So this is why I can repeat it. It's not something from a movie, okay? This is a common dialogue. The dialogue may be a modern version of it, okay, but basically it's the same thing. It is people themselves who are weak, and why do I say weak? Because they have succumbed to their desires, but yet and still they have reached certain levels in their careers, imposing themselves on others because of their weakness. And of course, in many instances, there are egos involved, there's jealousy, there's many kinds of things going on with people. You cannot, of course, see what's in someone's heart. But I think all of us who have lived long enough have seen or experienced in one way or another in different places, you know, people of this mentality. And if you haven't experienced it, then I'm sure you've heard about it. So why I'm taking the time to talk about this, because just recently one of my friends invited me to come to a career exhibition where young people will look for their career path. They will pursue particular types of jobs based on their training. And unfortunately, depending upon what career path you choose and the kind of people that you will interact with has a lot to do with your life. And what influences that you come under as an adult. And the time goes very quickly. If you stay, for example, in a particular company or within a particular career path for 20 or 30 years, and you're around negative people and you can't resist the temptation, then those people can destroy your life and destroy your family. The environment can do that. Sure, physically, you might be very successful, and people might look at you as that. Your physical rewards, your financial rewards, your status in society may be a very nice one. You may be living very comfortably. But at the same time, if you look at many of the people, their lives, their personal lives have been destroyed because of themselves having to deal with these issues and not being able to resist this temptation. And we're finding more and more that people are succumbing to the temptation of Satan. And people say, well, why do you think that? So the third thing is things. People, places, or an environment, things. The things that you do. What are the things that you do when you're with these people and the environment that you have a tendency to frequent regularly. Very important to understand that. And people will say to you, well, listen, you know, we have a country club. It's very exclusive. We invite you to come and join us. Maybe one day you'll be a member. But, you know, you come and hang out with us. Let's see what kind of person you are. And then we'll see in the future. So now this is an exclusive environment. Okay? There's only a small circle of people. And those people generally share certain interests. And unfortunately, in many instances, many of them share bad habits. It doesn't mean everyone is like that, but in many instances they are. And part and parcel of being part of the club is to be one of the guys. And being one of the guys is to do what everybody else does. Or you'll be excluded from that. And of course, these people are the people on the fast track. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that everyone is like this, but I'm saying that this is a common thing globally. And we should be very careful of the things that we do. And that we should be able to say, no, thank you, but I don't do that. It's not good for me. You can make a lot of excuses. Say, this is something, I understand that you people are involved in these things. For whatever you do, that's fine. But for me, it's not healthy for me. I'm afraid that it will take me into a dimension, to a path that I will not find myself in a deep hole. I will not be able to get out of it. You guys are strong. And we shouldn't be ashamed to say, well, you guys are stronger than me. You can do this and you continue with your lives. For me, I'm afraid that it would destroy my life. And who could argue with that? And if the people argue with you about this and insist, then it's very clear, isn't it, that these people are tools of Satan and they want to include you among the people that are pursuing the path of hellfire. People say, well, brother, how do you know who's going to hellfire? We don't, only Allah knows. But we know the habits, bad habits that people have that incline them in this way. Only Allah knows who is going, what their condition will be at their time of death. But we can see, based on the people's actions and where they're going, the things which they do, and particularly these three things, people, places, and things, the environment that you're in, the kind of people that you associate yourself with, the things that you do when you're with them. It's very clear in many instances that this path is a negative one, to say the least. So I'm only identifying this, and particularly for our young people out there who are on the verge of pursuing their careers. You are, like we say, bright-eyed, meaning that you finally graduated from university or you graduated from some particular training program, and now you're looking for your life to take the next step. And people may be encouraging to go to this particular company, or some companies themselves may recruit you. Be very careful, because in many instances, we say all that glitters is not gold. And I think that is enough. All that glitters is not gold. So we should take whatever it is that we want first to Allah. And we should ask Allah about this and then move forward. And in Surah Tawbah, in verse number 119, Allah says more or less, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, O you who have faith, fear Allah and be with the truthful people. Fear Allah and be with the truthful people, Allah is saying. So Allah is telling you clearly, don't associate with the people who are involved in falsehood. And whether it be in word or deed. And you'll find people will say, well, you know, in this business, son, you know, there's a requirement for you to be flexible. So it says flexible. What does flexible mean? Well, sometimes, you know, you have to twist things a little bit to make things work. You know what I mean? We're saying I have to lie, I have to cheat. Is that what you're saying? And the person says, well, I wouldn't call it that. This is, you know, just commonly understood in this particular field. If you want to be successful in this field, then you have to kind of go with the flow. And the Prophet ﷺ said more or less, by Allah, he cannot be a Muslim. By Allah, he cannot be a mu'min. By Allah, he cannot be a mu'min. He was asked, who? He answered, he from whose misdeeds his neighbor is not safe. Let's click by Bukhari. He who is misdeeds, his neighbor is not safe. So in answer to what I just mentioned, if people want you to have, they say, be flexible, we need to understand what flexible means. Does flexible mean that we're misleading people, that we're cheating in some way or another, or even to the point of stealing? Because in some instances, people are doing small things and they don't consider it to be theft because it's done commonly. So nobody will pay attention to that. Don't worry about it. This is something that is done commonly. Don't worry about it. Nobody worries about these things. Everybody does this. At the same time, it's theft, but it's minor theft. It's something very small, as an example. But for us, as Muslims, we have to be correct and we have to be accountable to Allah. And this is a reminder for all of us that these things can destroy us. So it is better to protect ourselves, regardless of the environment that we're in, and believe ultimately that our success is dependent on obeying the commandments of Allah. And when we don't do that, then we have failed. Simply, regardless of what else we've done, we've failed. Because if Allah is pleased with us, regardless of the obstacles that we may face, we've won, ultimately. But if it's the opposite, Allah is displeased with our actions because we're disobedient and we become flagrant sinners, then we will find ourselves in trouble. So think about it, and we hope that there's some words there that particularly young people will get some benefit from, those who are pursuing their careers now, and that Allah will guide them to the correct path. My name is Tariq Khalid. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at Sharjah Media Corporation on Doing Good. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.